Ask the Express, post-GST, will tax revenue growth ultimately increase? IndianExpress.com. Ask the Express, post-GST, will tax revenue growth ultimately increase? Today, 1:20 a.m. related news behind the GST being said that as a result of the introduction of GST, revenue growth in the current fiscal may fall. In the long run, will tax revenue growth go up or down? Jaskanvar Singh Suri. Tax revenue growth will happen in the medium and long term because of two factors. The first is related to the very design of GST, which is a multi-stage tax. This implies that tax will be paid at each stage in the value chain and tax credits will be taken. Compliance will be ensured because the buyer will buy products and services only from a compliant seller. The level of non-compliance, which is especially high in the trading segment of the value chain, will come down, because the trader will now declare more of his transactions in order to avail more tax credits on central taxes levied on input goods, input services, and imported goods and services. A lot of this revenue will show up as increased corporate revenues on the direct tax side because the dealer will also have to declare greater incomes for the purpose of levy of direct taxes. Direct and indirect tax information is linked through a common PAN number. Tax revenues are likely to increase also because of the widening of the market facilitated by lower prices, especially for a large number of manufactured goods because of lower logistics cost brought about by the abolition of various state levies such as central sales tax, entry tax and purchase tax. Lower prices will lead to higher demand and will, in turn, push up manufacturing growth and result in higher tax revenues. Exceptions and anti-profiteering. I have two questions. 1. Why have so many items like crude oil, diesel, petrol, natural gas been kept out of GST? And 2. Is it possible that the anti-profiteering clause will be misused to penalize honest mistakes? It is likely that the decisions of the 9-member committee will be eventually challenged in a court of law. Would that not put greater burden on our judiciary? Chitwan Singh Dhillon. To answer your first question, these petroleum items have been temporarily kept out of GST exempted so as to facilitate the levy of existing excise duties by the center and the states. This has been done partly to allay the fears of the states who get considerable revenue from petroleum products. Once the GST system stabilizes and revenue growth is seen to be good, these goods could be quickly brought into the GST net with the approval of the GST Council. On your second question, the government has clarified that the anti-profiteering clause will only be used as a last resort in respect of large units who do not pass on the benefits of tax reduction to the consumer. There are enough safeguards in the provisions to ensure that there is no harassment of small businesses. Complaints will be scrutinized by a steering committee headed by a secretary-level officer, which will, in turn, forward the case to the Directorate of Safeguards. This organization, which also has specialists in business accounting, will look at the data. The findings will be put up to the committee, which will take the approval of the GST Council before invoking the provision. Losses to Jammu or Kashmir. What can be the likely losses for Jammu or Kashmir and its residents as a result of the state staying out of GST? Himmat Sharma. Consumers in Jammu or Kashmir will suffer if the state legislature does not pass a special GST law. In the absence of such a law, goods coming from other states will bear IGST rates, but no credit of this will be available to businesses in. Similarly, goods going out of will be more expensive outside because of double taxation. This is because of the special status given to under Article 370 of the Constitution. This implies that whatever provisions have been passed by the rest of India would not be automatically applicable to unless specifically incorporates this through a special legislation passed by the Assembly. V.S. Krishnan, advisor, Tax Policy Group, Air India, and former member, Service Tax or GST, Central Board of Excise or Customs. More related news post GST review, Cabinet SECI asks steps to keep a lid on price rise. GST, WB dealers to join nationwide protest against partial inclusion of petrol products like a bee gathers honey. For all the latest explained news, download Indian Express app. Read, post, comments, visit website. PM Modi lands in Israel today, his eyes set on removing more hesitations of history. IndianExpress.com. PM Modi lands in Israel today, his eyes set on removing more hesitations of history. Today, 1:15 a.m. Related news amid pending FTA talks, Israel looks to boost exports to India. PM Narendra Modi in Israel. Live updates, PM to depart for Israel today, expected to reach in evening. No plan to give Modi tea stall a facelift. Union Minister Mahesh Sharma soon after returning from Europe in 1938, Jawaharlal Nehru, having seen firsthand the plight of European Jews before the onslaught of fascism, sponsored a resolution in the Congress Working Committee. The committee sees no objection to the employment in India of such Jewish refugees as are experts and specialists and who can fit in with the new order in India and accept Indian standards. The CWC and, in particular, then Congress President Subhas Chandra Bose, however, did not agree. In a letter written to Bose on April 3, 1939, Nehru recalled that Bose had been astounded by the suggestion to make India an asylum for the Jews. P.R. Kumaraswamy, India's Israel Policy, Columbia University Press, 2010. Subsequently, in 1942, the Jewish Chronicle of London, the world's oldest Jewish newspaper, reported that Bose had, in an article written for Der Angriff, the newspaper set up by Adolf Hitler's propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels, said that anti-Semitism should become part of the Indian liberation movement because the Jews had helped the British to exploit Indians. Yulia Igorova, Jews and India, Perceptions and Image, Routledge Curzon, 2006. It must be remembered, however, that in 1942, Bose was Hitler's guest and focused on India's liberation, which he hoped to achieve with German help. It is unclear whether he really accepted the ideology of the Nazis. Nehru's proposal was also opposed by Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, then the president of the Hindu Mahasabha. Speaking in Nagpur, Savarkar, while accepting that Indian Jews have given us no political or cultural troubles and are not in the main a proselytizing people, warned against repeating the suicidal generosity our forefathers who had ed colonies of non-Hindus to India. The Hindus must, Savarkar said, oppose the present Congressite proposal of inviting or allowing any new Jewish colony to settle in India. India must be a Hindu land, reserved for the Hindus. Igorova, 2006. Tarankan 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 Tarankan. When Narendra Modi lands at Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport today, the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Israel, he will be initiating a historic process of formally changing India's public and political approach towards dealing with the Jewish nation, and make polite amends for what one of his ideological gurus had said almost 80 years ago. Nehru's empathy for the persecuted Jewish people notwithstanding, India's political attitude towards Israel was set shortly after independence, when he and Mahatma Gandhi vowed to support the Palestinian cause, and rejected the idea of two nations based on religion. Nehru declined to honor a request from Albert Einstein for India's support for the United Nations resolution proposing the partition of Palestine. Perhaps he, Nehru, was influenced by India's own experience of partition. He strongly favored a federation of two states, with a special regime for Jerusalem for a period of 10 years, to be followed by a referendum. Chinmay Gharekhan, a former Indian permanent representative to the UN and former special envoy to West Asia, wrote in the Journal of the foreign policy think tank Gateway House in August 2014. It took about 45 years to unlock the relationship. India established full diplomatic relations with Israel in 1992, days after the Chinese did the same. In January 1992, during a meeting between Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao and the visiting Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat, Arafat was told that it would help the Palestinian cause if India established diplomatic relationship with Israel and had an ambassador in Tel Aviv. Arafat came on board and, at his press conference, famously said, "Exchange of ambassadors and recognition of Israel are acts of sovereignty in which I cannot interfere. I respect any choice of the Indian government." It was the game-changer moment. About 10 days after Arafat's publicly stated approval, on January 29, 1992, India established diplomatic ties with Israel. Tarankan, 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 Tar. India's military ties with Israel are older. New material has revealed that India had sourced Israeli weapons during the war with China in 1962. And later, during the 1999 Kargil conflict, the Indian Air Force, in desperate need of munitions to target Pakistani intruders hiding in caves and bunkers, received political approval to reach out to their Israeli counterparts for help. The Israelis wasted no time in digging into emergency stockpiles that reached Indian air bases within days, providing a decisive edge to the IAF. In 2000, External Affairs Minister Jaswant Singh and Home Minister L.K. Advani paid high-level visits to Israel, and in order to blunt criticism from the left and minority groups, the government of Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee arranged for CPIM veteran Jyoti Basu and Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairperson and then a leader of the Congress, Najma Heptullah, to also make the trip the same year. As defense and security cooperation picked up, in September 2003, Ariel Sharon became the first Prime Minister of Israel to visit India. When the UPA was in power, External Affairs Minister S.M. Krishna traveled to Israel in 2012, and the conversation revolved around cooperation on science and technology, agriculture and commerce. Talks on defense and security were avoided in public. The 3 years of Prime Minister Narendra Modi have seen the bilateral relationship become increasingly more visible. Modi met Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in New York on the sidelines of the UNGA in September 2014, the first such meeting in a decade. Home Minister Rajnath Singh traveled to Israel in November 2014, President Pranab Mukherjee in October 2015, the first visit by an Indian president, and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj in January 2016. A number of ministers and parliamentarians too have visited Israel in the past 3 years, and in February 2015, Israeli Defense Minister Moshe Yaalon openly discussed security and defense cooperation during a visit to India. While Modi will skip the customary stop at Palestine, a given during all previous Indian ministerial level visits, India has been careful to make sure the Prime Minister has already visited Saudi Arabia, Iran, Qatar and the UAE, Israel's regional rivals, over the last 3 years. New Delhi, in fact, hosted Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas this May, his second meeting with Modi after the one in New York in September 2015. And in all public pronouncements, External Affairs Minister Swaraj and South Bloc officials have maintained India's position on support for the Palestinian cause, even as India has been able to dehyphenate its Israel-Palestine relationship. Kumaraswamy, a professor at JNU's Center for West Asian Studies at the School of International Studies, and one of the foremost scholars on Indo-Israel relations, summed up the change. The relationship with Israel, so far, was like the one with a mistress, a clandestine affair. One can go out in public with one's wife, but with a mistress, one will have to explain. Now, there is growing maturity, because the regional and domestic situation has changed. Now it feels like one is confident of taking the girl to meet one's parents, one is not apologetic about it. A year year after he announced to the US Congress that the Indo-US relationship has overcome the hesitations of history. Prime Minister Modi will aim to do the same with respect to Israel and to set a strategic and political direction for the bilateral relationship. More related news: day before PM Modi visit,